sort of a generic, yeah. So we do have a generic like a list of generic questions regarding asylum, regarding immigration court, and regarding family-based petitions. But if another topic interests you, and obviously immigration's been a hot topic in the news lately, I would be glad to cover that. So if you do have questions regarding that specific topic, and I know a couple of people expressed interest in immigration in general, I would be glad to discuss whatever is not on the flyer.
Mhm, mhm.
So we can do that. And once again, my name is Gene Meltser. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing immigration law for over 25 years. Anything and everything immigration related, from asylum to immigration court to family-based petitions to employment petitions to naturalizations, family unifications, employment-based immigration, work visas, anything that has the word immigration or has the word visa attached to it. I do. So hopefully I'll be able to give you a short primer on immigration, and then we can take it from there.
That sounds great. I do know one person had mentioned about due process. So if you don't mind touching upon that.
Well, yeah, I'd be glad to discuss due process in context of immigration. I mean, obviously, due
Perfect.
process is a very broad subject, and we know that due process is part of our Constitution, and every person in the U.S. is afforded a due process before the government takes action, be it criminal case, be it immigration case. And obviously, there's a lot of questions that were floating around lately in the news regarding people arrested and deported without due process. And thankfully, the court stepped in and said, no, you cannot do that. A person in the U.S. regardless of that person's immigration status, is entitled to the same protection that we all enjoy. And that includes due process. So the person is able to appeal to the courts, be it immigration court or be it federal district court, to have the process or the detention reviewed. And you see constantly decisions going back and forth from federal judges regarding whether or not a person should remain in ICE custody or should be released, or the visa should be reinstated, or the status should be reinstated, and so forth. So that has to do with due process. So due process is, once again, very broad subject, but as far as immigration is concerned, you need to remember one thing. It does not matter what your immigration status is, you are afforded the same protection under the law. And that is exactly what due process covers. The same protection under the law, and obviously a process that a person can use in order to review his or her detention, his or her status, his or her actions or inactions under the law. So that's how due process plays into immigration. And once again, it's important to remember that immigration, for the most part, is not a criminal law, criminal practice. It is administrative. And a lot of people are very surprised to hear that immigration judges are not part of our judicial system. Immigration court is an administrative court within the Department of Justice, which is uh, problematic, and it's been discussed for decades. And a lot of people want to bring the immigration court out of the Department of Justice and bring it under the umbrella of the courts, so our judicial branch of our government. Because right now it is under the executive branch. So that is something to remember. So the prosecutors and the judge are employed by the same agency, or the same, not exactly the same agency, but the same branch of the government, which is an issue. as far as immigration practitioners are concerned. And obviously, lately it's becoming more and more apparent that more cases end up before actual federal judges to be decided. And there are a lot more calls about bringing the immigration judiciary system out of the Department of Justice, which is part of the executive branch, as you know, and out to the judicial branch. So under the auspices of U.S. Supreme Court. Um, let's go and review, I guess, asylum claims. There are two types of asylum claims, generically speaking. One is called an affirmative asylum. One is called a defensive asylum claim. And we'll discuss what an asylum claim is and how an asylum claim can be proven. But generically speaking, there are two types of cases. First one is an affirmative asylum case, which is, dear U.S. government, I am here. I entered to the U.S. And I cannot go back. Therefore, please grant me asylum. That's usually done when a person enters on parole, or a person enters on a visa and gets a status. So there is a legal entry. And within that period of time, the person files what's known as affirmative asylum. And generally speaking, there are four bases for the asylum. So it's persecution based on political views or political actions or inactions. So it's politics, it is national origin, it is a group that's protected by the government, or it's a religious persecution. So the persecution has to be, for the most part, done by the government through actions or inactions, meaning the government can be actively persecuting a group of people. Say, if there's a LGBTQ community that is in a country where homosexuality is illegal, and not in every country in the world homosexuality is legal, as you know. That group is obviously a protected group, and given the fact that the government will put you in jail, the government will forcefully try to cure you um, from homosexuality as if it's a disease. They will not let you marry, and they will not let you cohabit, and so forth. That is something that can be used in order to claim asylum. Same thing with religion. Um, a lot of countries say, well, yeah, everyone is welcome. And then when you actually start examining the claims, they're, you're welcome as long as you're Christian, or as long as you're Muslim, or as long as you're not Jewish, or something along those lines. And obviously that group that is that's persecuted based on their religious practices is a protected group. Obviously, politics is a major issue when it comes to opposing the government. And I mean, you read about, Russian opposition or Belarusian opposition being in jail, being killed, being persecuted by the government. And obviously, you can't go to the government and say, hey, I'm being persecuted by the government. So that's both action and inaction of the government. There's certain groups that are supported by the government, which are not non-governmental groups, NGOs, that do the persecution, and the government says, well, we're not going to get involved. So you deal with them. And that's also something that can be considered as a claim for asylum. There were other bases such as potential issues with the female genital mutilation, obviously, is a big deal. There are certain claims that can be made with domestic violence, and the law there goes back and forth quite a bit. As weird as it sounds, but generally a repetitive domestic violence that is not, if the person is not protected by the police, the person seeks the protection of the authorities, and they say, "Wow, we don't take claims from women." Or from married women without the husband being present. And if the husband is the abuser, it's an issue. Obviously, it has to do with certain countries around the world where those beliefs are common. So it doesn't mean that if you have an abusive husband and you get into a fight with your husband, you can automatically get an asylum claim filed within the U.S. So that is a very specific area and requires quite a bit of proof. And also, you need to remember that in order to file for an asylum, political asylum, you have to be physically present in the US. So you cannot file from abroad. There are refugees that are able to file from abroad, but that's done through the UN and through the High Commissioner of Refugees. They are not asylees. So refugees and asylees are two separate and distinct groups of people. So if there's a war in your country and you've been displaced, you're a refugee. You're not an asylee. And if you're in the US saying, "Hey, I am a member of the group that's being prosecuted by the government," you are an asylee, not a refugee. So a lot of times those terms are used interchangeably. They are not, and they have nothing in common. Completely different process, completely different everything, completely different requirements from the legal standpoint, and completely different entities. So that's the affirmative asylum. Defensive asylum is used when you're placed in removal proceedings. So if you are before the immigration judge and because you lost your status, so you entered the country without having a visa. So you crossed the border, you came to a CBP officer and said, "Hey, I would like to request political asylum." You're placed in removal. Removal is the proper way of saying deportation. So deportation is the physical action of removing someone, where removal is the proper name of the legal process. So if you're in removal, you're before the immigration judge, you can say, "Yes, judge, I am removable," meaning I have no right to stay in the US. However, I cannot be removed because if I go back to my country, I will be harmed or I'll be killed or I'll be put in jail. So you use that in a defensive posture, meaning you are trying not to be removed, rather than affirmative asylum, where you ask for a benefit when you enter the country legally. So some people are placed in removal proceedings. So if you ask for affirmative asylum and your asylum is not successful, you don't get a denial, you get a referral. So you're placed in removal proceedings, and then you have a second chance before the immigration judge to prove your asylum in order not to be removed from the country. So that's a short summary of asylum. And we also touched on immigration court. So as I told you, immigration court is a administrative body of the Department of Justice. So it's not a criminal court. The judges do not put you in jail. The judges may allow detention by the police, and ICE is immigration police. It's Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're akin to say an FBI. So FBI doesn't put you in jail. The courts do. The FBI will conduct the investigation and turn over everything to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the U.S. Attorney's Office does the actual prosecution before the federal judge. Same thing or similar thing happens here. ICE does removals, meaning the actual deportation of people. If the judge says, "Okay, this person is deportable, and here's the order to deport this individual." They also do what's known as expedited removals, and that's a gray area of law. If you're found within certain distance of the border, you may not have to go before the judge. And expedited removal has always been an area of contention, especially vis-a-vis what we started discussing in the beginning, which is due process. So the immigration officer basically says, nah, we're not letting you in. And it becomes an issue. But for the most part, immigration judges do try to be impartial. I've seen immigration judges scream at the representative of USCIS, which is the immigration service, in court. So the local counsel or the lawyers working for the government once in a while don't do their jobs. And the judges try to be as impartial as they can under very strict guidelines, which are constantly changing. But once again, they are unfortunately not part of the judiciary system. They are very similar to hearing officers for the, say, Illinois Department of Labor or Illinois Department of I don't know, DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services. So they're not they're not part of the court system. They are, in fact, part of administrative process. So they'll make a decision which can be reviewed by a federal judge. But for the most part, they make the same decisions as the Department of employment security hearing officer does if you get fired. So if you get fired, you can file for unemployment. If your employer says, nah, you are not entitled to unemployment because I fired you for cause. You're saying, no, you fired me because you downsized. And there's a hearing. So that hearing officer is an administrative hearing officer. Same, very similar process here, except it's on a larger scale since its immigration courts were created under Executive Office of Immigration Review of the Department of Justice. They were created by a federal statute, but they're still hearing officers. That's what they are. If you get down to nitty-gritties of how the immigration court works. So the question is whether or not, immigration violation is a criminal violation. For the most part, it is not. There are some exceptions where immigration violation could be a criminal violation. And it has to do with the border crossings for the most part. And obviously, anything that you do during the process that can be viewed as possible fraud. So if you submit fraudulent documents, if you submit fraudulent testimony, they can open you up to a federal criminal investigation and possible federal criminal indictment. But it has nothing to do with the actual immigration violation. It has to do with what you presented to the U.S. government. And obviously, immigration fraud is unfortunately fairly rampant, and people do stuff that they shouldn't be doing. A lot of times people do stuff that they shouldn't be doing because they get misinformation that's floating around. They get bad help. And unfortunately, bad help is a huge problem. There are, especially in Spanish-speaking communities, people call themselves anything and everything, like notarios. Well, notary public, in order to become notary public in Illinois, you need to graduate from high school and pay $10 to the Secretary of State. That is your qualification. Notario in Spanish-speaking countries is an attorney, is a lawyer that is also granted additional license as someone who can draft legal documents. And unfortunately, the bad actors here use that similarity, saying, oh, notary public is the same thing as notario. No, it's not. Okay, so, and that becomes a problem. They perpetrate fraud. They help people where they can't help people. They provide illegal consultations. They play lawyers, and that unfortunately doesn't end well for the most part. Any questions so far?
Uh,
If they
if
can
somebody was,
unmute themselves or.
I'll unmute you guys here.
I, am I going through?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. I do have a question about people who are here illegally. They're working. Um, do they have a chance of achieving legal status once they're here by whatever means they needed to use?
Well, that depends. It's like saying, well, I'm sick. Do I have a chance to
Uh,
become better? Well, that depends on what your illness is, what your labs are, how long you've been treating, and so forth. So there's no generic answer.
okay.
Um, and when you say someone's here illegally, there's no such thing. That's once again, it's a generic term saying, can I get better? If you translate it into medical terms. So a person can be here out of status. The person can be here EWI, so he or she can enter without inspection. They might have had status which they lost, and all those, and that's just to start. And depending on those circumstances, that person or persons or family may or may not have a chance of doing something. For the most part, most people that are here, they do have some sort of a claim. The biggest problem I see is just sitting on your hands, not
Mm.
not starting the case, not working on the case, not hiring a lawyer to help you with what's going on and getting bad information. So um, unfortunately, there's no generic answer to what you asked, because once again, it depends on whether or not that person's ever been convicted of criminal offense, whether or not that person has ever been removed from the United States before and re-entered illegally, whether or not that person is married, what's the status of the spouse, and so forth. So that is something that is extremely, extremely specific to an individual, but not to a group of people.
And
So
so,
yeah,
and
go
so
ahead.
a first step would be to consult with an
Absolutely.
immigration attorney about the
Absolutely.
person's specific situation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the sooner the better. Unfortunately, there are some uh, timing issues. So you only have 1 year from the time you enter the US to file for an asylum. So 1 year and 1 day will land you in removal. So the moment someone is here and he or she is trying to stay here, they have to consult an immigration lawyer.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So,
Gene, what about for a minor?
pardon?
What about for a minor?
Same thing. Same thing. There are certain provisions for minors, but they're not applicable to every minor just because he or she is a minor.
Mhm.
There are certain provisions such as special juvenile immigrants, but for that, the person has to be a part of a foster system here in the States, and the parents lose the guardianship and parental rights. So
Uh,
it's not as easy as it sounds.
So nuanced. Yeah, it's really tricky.
Yep.
Hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So um, we can move on to family cases. So family cases are also a very interesting area, and not every family case can immediately be adjudicated, and not every person filing for a family case can immediately get a green card. So you can get a green card if you are a spouse of a U.S. citizen, um, if you are a parent of a U.S. citizen, and in some cases, if you're a child of a U.S. citizen. Um, some categories can file one way, but not the other. For example, if you're a child of if you're a parent of a U.S. citizen, the child may be able to file for you and get your green card fairly fast if that child is over 21 years of age. However, if you are a parent, if you're a child, you of a U.S. citizen, you may not automatically have the same ability. So a child can file for a parent virtually always, as long as the parent entered legally, even if they lost their status years ago. But a parent may not be able to file for a child if the child is out of status. So immigration law is unfortunately very, very tricky. And it's based on, just like all the other laws, we have federal court decisions, we have the actual statutes, we have the rules, we have the forms, we have certain precedent decisions from Board of Immigration Appeals, from the federal courts. So all of that changes constantly. And on top of that, we also have another component, which is something called the Department of State, which allocates immigrant visas. So we have a visa bulletin that comes out once a month and covers just 1 month going forward. So depending on the category, and there are certain categories that are known as immediate relatives, and certain categories, they have a 15-year wait time. So for example, if you are a brother of a sister or a sister and you're a U.S. citizen, you have a sibling abroad, it's going to take about 15 years if you file today. If you are a child and you are a U.S. citizen, you have parents. If the parents are abroad, it might take about 1.5 years. If the parents are here, it's going to take about 6 to 8 months for them to get a green card. But once again, if we have parents that are U.S. citizens filing for adult kids, it can be a 10-year ordeal. So it is extremely specific and extremely technical. But for the most part, when we're dealing with spouses, if the spouse entered legally, say came in as a student or as a visitor and just remained here out of status, lost their status, never extended, and married a U.S. citizen, for the most part, I should be able to get you a green card within about 6 to 8 months without ever leaving the U.S. Obviously, minor kids of U.S. citizens that are abroad are a priority, and they used to take about 2 years for them to get here. Right now, I have cases that are being approved in weeks rather than years. So hopefully the immigration is, realizing how hard it is for a U.S. citizen to have kids abroad that cannot come to the U.S. immediately. There are certain people with green cards that get married. They do not have the same ability to file as U.S. citizens. They are unfortunately subject to that visa bulletin that comes out once a month. And if you just go into Google and type in visa bulletin and put in the month, so right now we have a July visa bulletin. August should be coming out shortly. So if you type in visa bulletin July 2025 and actually read it, you'll see the categories and you'll see what they're processing right now. So for example, spouse of someone with a green card, right now they're processing mid-2022. So about 3-year wait time. So that is something to
Yes, I don't hear.
consider. But we have someone that joined us. I think Allison, welcome. So any questions? I can probably unmute people so they can ask. Allison's got a question. Anyone?
So I have a question. I'm Karen.
Go ahead, Karen.
So what about someone who has filed for a green card and goes to the is asked to come into ICE, and then immediately they detain and deport that person, even
Well,
though
they
that
can't
person.
deport. Remember, we have due process. So they can't really immediately deport. In some cases, they can't detain because that person, for the most part, is out of status. Generally, when you file for a green card, once again, I need to know how you filed and who filed on your behalf. You don't go to ICE, you go to USCIS, you go to the Immigration Service. ICE
Okay,
is the police,
okay.
okay? But they can come to you saying, hey, you are here out of status. So we're going to take you into custody until your case is resolved.
But
Okay.
it just seems like the administration is deporting people without due process.
And that's a problem, and that's why you see a lot of federal cases, and that's why you see the judges issuing decisions and holding administration in contempt and making them return people that they deported or tried to deport, and that's a violation. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
But there are thousands of people being deported every day whose
For the most
families
part,
don't have.
those individuals already have the order of deportation entered against them.
Okay. But their families in many cases don't have the resources to hire immigration lawyers.
Correct. Just like you may not have resource to hire an attorney in a criminal case. So if that happens, the state assigns a public defender to you, unfortunately, because this is not a criminal court. You don't get a public defender, but there are organizations that help with immigration questions. So there's no right to a counsel in immigration court or immigration proceedings. You are able to use one, but the Constitution doesn't provide you with an ability to get free defense.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Okay, I have a question. You probably covered it, but since I just got in.
Sure.
So what are the ways you can get a green card? And if you have a green card, how many years before you have to renew it?
Okay. Well, let's answer that first.
And now are they even renewing green cards?
Of course they are. Yeah. Let me reiterate the fact that the executive branch, of which the president is the head, doesn't make law. The law is made by the legislative branch of our government, which is the Congress. So the law remains unchanged. They can change the process, they can change the rules, but not the law. So the green card is issued for 10 years. And it can be renewed indefinitely as long as you qualify, meaning you don't commit any crimes that can render you removable. There are instances where a green card is issued for 2 years. It's called a conditional green card. That's happens if you are getting a green card because you married a U.S. citizen and the marriage is under 2 years in duration. So what
Wait,
happens
so
is
if you've married a U.S. citizen, the duration green card, it's called the duration green card?
the duration of the marriage. So you married a U.S. citizen, you filed the documents, you got the green
Conditional
card.
What was the name? Conditional green card?
It is correct. It's a green card with conditions attached to it. That's correct. It's called a conditional green card, and it's issued for 2 years. And then you file documents to remove the conditions, meaning you show the government that the marriage is still ongoing, or the marriage was terminated through no fault of your own.
Okay, wait. So, okay, you file documents to show marriage is still ongoing.
Correct.
Okay. Or dissolved of no
Well,
fault.
dissolved because of issues that People get incarcerated, people become abusive, people die.
What if you're just no longer in love?
That could be a base for removing conditions as well. And that happens all the time. People get divorced, but as long as you can prove that at the time of a marriage, this marriage was entered into for legitimate reasons rather than immigration benefits, you should be able to retain your green card and remove the conditions and get a 10-year green card.
Okay, as long, you said, you're talking so faster than I can write, but as long as you can prove the marriage was for legitimate
All right,
reasons,
that was a legitimate marriage, so you have a bona
not
fide.
for,
Not for immigration benefits, correct.
okay, so how do you prove that?
Well, there are techniques to prove that. You show that you cohabited. You show that you have commingled your assets. You show that you have commingled financials, joint tax filings, photographs, statements by people that are known to you. It's a process. It's not a check in the box type of thing. So it depends quite a bit on individual couple that we're talking about.
So if you did, but like the feelings have changed and
Mhm. That's
this,
fine.
this wouldn't be a good time to get a divorce because then you lose your green card and your and then
No, you don't. You don't. You will not lose the green card. But as long as you lived together for a period of time, and you can show that when you lived together, everything was joined, then it's done all the time. So the fact that you got a divorce doesn't mean you're going to lose your green card. You just have to go through the steps that are prescribed by the law.
Okay, and the steps are that you've
You have to file for removal of conditions and prove that at the time of the marriage was entered into for legal reasons. There was a legitimate marriage at the time the marriage occurred.
I mean, isn't it harder today with what's been going on?
No,
No.
it's not. Not at all.
One of my friends, her good friend, owns a business. She's a dentist, or it's a dental supply company.
All right.
Or both. And one of her best employees went to Mexico to visit her mother for Mother's Day. She had the green card. She's been here in the States for over 20 years. She has 3 grown children. She's married for maybe 25 something. So on the way back, they detained her. She's been in the Indiana State Correctional Prison since a few days after Mother's Day.
All right.
Okay, so they took away all of her belongings. Her supervisor went to bat for her. I don't know who she spoke to, but she said that at my company, we actually did the background checks. There's no criminal background. She's one of my best employees.
Well, in 25 years, I have seen quite a bit of issues with background checks, especially when the people come here out of state, come here under a different name and use different name in 20 years ago. But unfortunately, the fingerprints are there. The fingerprints don't change. So I sincerely doubt that she got detained because she went to Mexico. She got detained because she's deportable. Why she's deportable is a good question. And that would be listed on something called NTA, which is a notice to appear issued by the government in order for her case to go into immigration court. So if she's detained, they automatically issue an NTA. And this will spell out exactly the reasons why she has been detained. It could be a fraudulent way of obtaining a green card. So she might have gotten a green card because of her first marriage, and now the husband has been, I don't know, apprehended for something else, marriage fraud. And he said, okay, everybody that I ever married, there are 5 women, they all paid me $20,000 in order for me to file their petitions. And I've seen that.
Oh,
So
really?
she might have a green card, but I don't know how she got the green card. I don't know how what happened between the time she entered the U.S.
Only thing I,
legally
only
until
thing I
today.
know, because this is a friend's friend.
Mhm.
But the only thing I know is she had the green card, but for whatever reason, whether it was time or money, she didn't go through the naturalization process.
Very possible. Well, a lot of times people don't go through naturalization process, not because it was time or money, but because they didn't qualify. Because 20 years ago, she's been arrested for armed robbery. And
Oh,
that's not something that was picked up by a employment background search. Or she's been arrested for 3 DUIs since she started working for your friend, and your friend doesn't do ongoing background searches. They only did one when she was hired.
so
So
you think that it's absolutely, I mean, I don't know the woman,
I guarantee it's crime related.
really.
Yeah,
So there's supposed to be a hearing,
fraud or crime, nothing else.
there was supposed to be a hearing on the 8th, and it's
Mhm.
moved up to the 10th.
Yeah, that happens all the time, unfortunately. But I guarantee you it's either fraud or crime, one or the other, nothing else.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
If I don't want to butt in if that topic isn't finished, but
No, no,
kind of
no. We
related.
can switch back and forth. Don't worry about
Kind
it.
of related. Someone brought up the fact that many of these people don't have financial resources to obtain legal counsel.
Correct.
Could you discuss like what is a ballpark, how much? And I know it varies from situation to situation, but
Yeah,
like,
it varies significantly. It could be from a few hundred dollars to tens of thousands of dollars. So
and
unfortunately, it's like saying, can you tell me a price of a car?
Wait,
mhm.
are you saying that's the price for legal consult, or if that's the
Sure,
price
it's a
for-
price for handling an immigration case.
Oh,
And that
For a consultation, it's a price for an attorney to take on a case.
and the range would consider the complexity of the case.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Just like any other legal matter.
Mhm.
It would depend on complexity of the case, potential length of the case. There are attorneys that charge hourly. There are attorneys that charge flat fees, such as we only work on flat fees. I think it's more beneficial to a person to know exactly what the fee will be from start to finish, rather than charging them hourly. And
do you work mainly with people from Illinois or other states?
no, it's a federal practice, so we literally work everywhere in the U.S. Yesterday, I had an asylum hearing in Houston, so I just flew back in last night.
What is your phone number? It's behind your head.
Sure, it's 847-444-9000.
So you work in different states. We
Absolutely,
out west as well.
absolutely.
I
And if the person you said Indiana, they will probably be in Illinois Immigration Court, depending on where in Indiana.
she's from Illinois. I mean, she lives in Illinois she did live in Illinois with her husband and 3 kids, but they
Okay.
took her to Indiana.
Yeah, that's once again they're
And her
they
boss is
just
sending
opened up an
money.
immigration court in Indiana. And for the most case it's done through WebEx to begin with.
It's what?
It's done through WebEx remotely. WebEx is similar to Zoom.
Oh, the hearing for this woman in Indiana?
Yeah, for the most part, initial hearings are done through WebEx.
Okay.
So I imagine things are very busy. How, if someone were to contact you about a specific case,
Mhm.
would they expect to have an appointment like soon or? a month?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no issue. I have full staff in the office, so if you call the office and schedule a time, they will get you in, or we'll have a Zoom call, or we'll have a phone call, depending on where you are. Pretty much, if you call today,
What's
you
the
probably
flat
have it
fee that
tomorrow.
you charge? What's your flat fee?
Depends on a case.
What
So
does
you
it
would,
depend on?
you would do a
Yeah.
consult and get the.
Absolutely. We do a
basics and-
consultation, and then you find out exactly what is needed and how much will it cost, and then it's up to you to make a decision.
Mhm.
We charge a flat fee of $150 for a full consult. It has no time limit of any kind. So I look through all the documents. I discuss the case. So I figure out what the case is, and then you know exactly what the fee is. And if we're hired, that $150 goes towards the case. It doesn't disappear.
And what kind of documents are required for the
But it depends
consult?
on the case. It depends on whether or not it's a removal case. I prefer to have every single piece of paper that ever exchanged between you and the Immigration Service,
Mhm.
from the beginning of time up until today.
So that's what you would ask somebody who calls in for an appointment, is just
Sure.
bring whatever you have.
Whatever you have.
Okay.
Correspondence, forms, filings, receipt notices. The more you bring in, the better off you'll be as far as information goes. Once again, just like coming to a doctor.
Mhm.
Hey, the more labs you bring in, if you bring in your MRI, you bring in your lab results from 2 days ago, and every medical chart you had for the last 5 years, that doctor will be able to give you a better diagnosis than the one that just kind of chatted with you for 5 minutes without seeing any of the
Can you
documents.
repeat again what kind of documents you want?
Anything that has to do with her being in the U.S. from the time she was born up until today. Any forms, filings, receipts, green cards. I need to know how she got the green card. I need to know whether or not she ever used a fraudulent name. I need to know whether or not she was ever arrested, and so forth. And we're able to ascertain quite a bit by requesting it from the government, but it takes time. So for us to act fast, it's a lot easier to actually have the information provided by a client.
When you're renewing a green card, like the 2-year green card, when it's in process of being renewed, how
You don't
long?
renew a 2-year green card. You remove the conditions. You renew a 10-year green card.
Wait, you don't renew?
The 2-year green card cannot be renewed. You have to remove the conditions. It's a different process. It's not a renewal.
You have to remove the conditions.
Correct.
What does that mean?
That means you have to prove that the marriage was real.
Okay.
A lot of people make that mistake and unfortunately file wrong forms.
Sorry?
A lot of people make that mistake. You do not renew a 2-year green card. You remove the conditions. So all green cards are 10 years. Some come with an earlier expiration date. So it's a 10-year green card, which expires in 2 years, unless you remove that condition. And then it becomes a 10-year green card.
Oh, you mean they're all 10 years?
They're
And
all 10 years. All green cards are 10 years. But some have a condition attached to them, which have the earlier expiration date.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Any other questions? It's a lot of info. Unfortunately, immigration law is fairly complex, and information is about 80% of information online is wrong. So it's just flat wrong. About 5% is questionable, and about 15% is possibly correct but cannot be interpreted correctly.
Wow.
These people that are taken off the street, I was working with a salesperson, at Nordstrom's a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
And she lives in a Latino neighborhood. She's from Mexico. Her husband's from Puerto Rico. She was walking down the block, down her block, which is primarily Latino. And
Mhm.
ICE came, they took a mother with a 9-year-old on a bike, threw the bike on the ground and just grabbed them. So would this likely be someone targeted? She didn't know who it was.
Yeah, it's usually someone targeted
It's not-
because
she's-
they
she's-
generally don't arrest mothers with minor kids or pregnant women. So yeah, it's
said
probably
she's
someone
scared-
targeted.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's probably someone targeted.
someone that they know is here illegally.
Correct. So just because you have a 9-year-old and say you robbed a bank 10 years ago, doesn't mean FBI cannot arrest you. Same thing here. If there's an order of removal against you, and that mother of a 9-year-old may have a extended criminal history that nobody knows about.
So they're not gonna take somebody that's this, because this woman, she said, well, first of all, she was crying on the way back. She saw the bicycle laying there and lying there and crying. And then she said she's scared because she has a green card, but she
Okay.
race, she looks, she looks dark and Latina.
That makes no difference. Yes, if she's
They're
got a
not
green
gonna
card,
just
she's
grab
got
somebody
nothing to be
based on how
afraid
they
of.
look.
She's got nothing to be afraid of.
Okay, well, I'll tell her that. That should make her
Yes.
feel better.
By the way, the law requires her to carry her green card with her at all times.
I was gonna ask her if she carries it with her.
Yep.
I didn't know. And if it's in process of being renewed,
They send you a receipt notice extending the validity of your green card while it's being worked on.
so if somebody has their green card supposedly in process of being renewed since, let's say, September, October, November, and you haven't heard yet, does that
That's
mean
fine.
that's normal?
Absolutely.
It is. How long does
Yeah.
it usually take?
It can take a year, but they send you a notice saying your old green card is extended. That automatically gets extended when you file for an extension. The old card gets extended before new one issues.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Jean, when you are filing to renew your green card, do you also have to file separately for an extension? Or
No,
does
that is an
that
extension.
automatically?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
automatic. So the receipt notice, something that the government says, hey, we got your payment and we got your I-90 form, the extension of green card automatically says, and by the way, your green card is automatically extended for 500 days.
Mhm.
So we have enough time to process your extension.
That makes sense. Thank you.
All right. So there's a process for everything. Unfortunately, the governments make mistakes all the time, and we have to correct those mistakes. And that's why it's very important to hire an attorney to handle legal issues. It's very important to get a doctor if you're sick.
Mhm.
Okay, you don't have ChatGPT prescribe you medicine, and you don't rely on ChatGPT to get better. But people, for some reason, do rely on information on Google
Mhm.
for the legal questions that they have. And that becomes an issue, unfortunately, big issue.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of information, a lot of conflicting information out there too. So I
It's
think,
not just conflicting information. I mean, we go through years of training to interpret the law.
right,
That
right,
is what lawyers do.
right.
Ultimately,
Let's-
the judges interpret the law, but the lawyers have the knowledge and the training to apply the law. And
What's changed though, and since January, how have things changed?
they didn't. They did not. But the only thing that changed is the amount of information in the media. So there are no new laws. There's no new significantly altered processes. I mean, that they changed the filing fees, they instituted new filing
Well,
fees
yeah, and they're
and
much
so
more
forth.
expensive.
But, well, no, they haven't changed the old fees. They just added a couple of new fees.
But to get your papers,
Pardon?
that's to get your naturalization papers, that's increased.
It's the same for about 2 years now. $760.
How much?
$760. That's what the government charges
For papers?
for naturalization, for the process of naturalization.
That's been the same price for 2 years?
About, yeah, since about January of, I'm sorry, I should say April of either 2023 or 2024. So nothing new happened with the new administration as far as naturalization goes.
Since
But-
20, okay.
But I understand that the Trump administration canceled some programs that the Biden administration had in place to allow, is it temporary protected status for
Correct.
Venezuelans?
That's correct. And TPS is constantly, I mean, TPS is only given for 18 months to begin with.
Okay.
And they did cancel it for certain countries. If the country conditions change, the TPS should be stopped. It's temporary. It's a temporary protection. So it basically freezes everything in time until, you know, a natural disaster or political unrest is resolved. If it gets resolved, they were just saying, okay, we restart the timer.
But it means
So it
that
happens all the time.
you have thousands of Venezuelans who entered the country within the past year thinking that they had 18 months and now
Correct.
they're not, they've lost their status.
Correct, because because according to administration, the conditions in Venezuela changed for the better, where those people are no longer require that protection. Whether or not it's true, that's another
Okay.
question, but that is the rationale behind the decision.
And I worked with a group of Afghan men who came to the United States under a special status
Correct.
after the fall of Kabul, and a
Mhm.
couple of them had worked right along with the military, and the others had worked in positions, and their status, they lost that ability to be in the States, didn't they? They lost protection.
Well, if they came in on a on a parole, and they have the TPS, and the answer is yes. If they
Yeah.
came in on a special visas, the answer
Yeah,
is
two
no.
of them had SIV visas
There
and
you
two of
go.
them
And
came
the
in
answer is
under
no.
parole.
Correct.
So the ones with SIV visas are okay, but the
They're
ones who came
okay.
in under parole are not.
Correct.
Okay.
So
And one of them, for example, is in the process of applying for a green card and he came in under parole. But now does this mean he doesn't get a green card?
no, if he already applied and the parole is canceled, he should be okay depending on how he's applying for the green card. So if he's married a U.S. citizen, the fact that he came in on parole and just lost the parole afterwards doesn't mean that he cannot get adjusted.
Oh, no, he's not married to a US citizen. He has a wife and 3 kids back in
Okay, but
Afghanistan.
once again, he needs basis for applying. I don't know how he applied for the
Okay.
green card.
I see. Okay.
So I need more info to answer
Yeah,
that.
I understand.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about his specifics.
So hopefully they'll be able to stay.
Okay.
Isn't it better though I know you say you work in different states, but isn't it better? Don't you have more success with Illinois residents than
Not at all.
Texas, California, wherever?
Not at all.
No?
Nope.
Well,
That's
more expensive.
it's exactly the
travel.
same federal system. So, for example, Illinois cases are processed in not in Illinois. So, if you're an Illinois resident, you file in Nebraska.
Uh-huh.
So, it's not relevant where the case is processed.
But you have to fly to meet the family, right? Or
No,
the individual.
for the most part, I don't, because it's,
Go
I
on
mean,
Zoom.
there's Zoom, there's phones, there's email. If I need to be present for an interview, yeah, I'll get on a plane, I'll fly out. Just like what's better, you know, if God forbid you have cancer, and why do people go to Mayo Clinic? Because they're better. Same thing. People hire me because they think that I can do something that others may or may not be able to do, and it's their call. But whether or
What's your
not
success rate?
there's no such thing. Because if
No
I'll tell you 100%, and then you'll be the first one that gets denied, it's not going to help you. So if an attorney tells you their success rate, run. It's A, it's unethical. B, it's bordering on illegal. And C, it wouldn't be applicable to you. So
Okay,
there's no such thing as success rate. Even within it, once again, if I can pick a category where I never get a denial. So what? That doesn't tell you anything other than the fact that I possibly know what I'm doing. It doesn't tell you that your case will not get denied. So it's a lie. It's a gimmick that people use. I don't do it.
I don't know. I don't even know. I might not be using the right term.
No. I think you are using the right term. It's a very popular question. But, you know, I tell everyone the same thing. That there's no such thing as success rate because each case is handled separately. And each case is unique. So you cannot compare yourself to any other. It's like asking if it's a good hospital. Here, I'll give you a scenario and you tell me if it's a good hospital. So 10 people came into emergency room. 9 of them died within an hour. Is that a good hospital?
It probably depends on the condition.
Ah, there you go. So if nine came in was a bullet hole in their heads and 1 was a broken arm, it changes the picture, doesn't it? So each case is separate.
Right.
Okay, there's no such thing as success rate. Each case is unique.
Makes sense.
Yep, I'm glad we got that established. So, any other questions, ladies?
No,
All right,
thank you very much.
my pleasure. And
Jane,
once
yeah.
again, I am in Norrisburg, so if you have any follow-up questions or anything else, feel free to email me and or call me or
What
stop
is your
by.
email?
It's meltser@bmlaw.com.
Oh, and Allison, I'll send out his, if you don't mind, Jean, I'll
Absolutely.
send your contact information to everybody that registers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel like I just want to thank you. I can tell you're passionate and very knowledgeable, and each case is very nuanced. And I feel like I learned a lot, and I really thank you for your time. It's been really, really informative and helpful. And yeah, I think you're very,
Excellent.
yeah, it's hard
Thank
because
you.
it's such a hot topic, but you really can't be biased and then practice the law in an efficient way. You really have to just focus on the facts and the law. So I really appreciate that. And I
And
appreciate the
thank you.
conversation and for everyone coming tonight.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, and have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you so
So
much.
much.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.